Today's guest is Mimi Ison, the voice behind Hey Middle Age, a social account where she's rewriting the narrative around growing older. She calls herself a pro-aging midlife enthusiast, and that's exactly the kind of refreshing honesty we need more of. We explore what midlife really means as we age. We get into aging loved ones, menopause, and finding your own life path no matter what age. She's here to share a realistic and empowering view on what growing older actually looks like. Here's more from Mimi. Mimi, I'm so excited for you being here in studio. We just talked about this, but
I know.
it's my very first in person, and it's your very first in person.
Yeah.
So we're in it together. Hopefully everything will go smoothly, but I'm just so happy that we could talk once more in person because we've already had a couple of
Yeah, we
conversations.
have.
And I just loved how organic the first two have been. And honestly, even just organically meeting you in person at the event down in the South Bay.
Yes.
And I have been following you for a few years
We
now.
connected immediately.
We really did. We really did. And, sometimes you meet people from online and
Yeah.
they're a little bit different than what you had imagined, but I feel like you're just so authentic online and obviously offline.
Thank you.
And yeah, I find you so inspiring. So I'm really happy to be chatting with you today.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to be here on your next leg of your podcast journey.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Thank you. I was taking a look at your Instagram bio, and you
uh,
call yourself a pro aging midlife enthusiast. And I just really love that because I feel like the words pro and aging are so antithesis to each other in
yeah.
terms of how people view aging. Pro being obviously something so positive and it's a benefit. And aging, I feel like, especially for women, the narrative around aging is so negative as we age.
It
Somehow
100% is.
yeah, somehow we just decline or something. And I'd love to understand what your perspectives are just on a general level of
Hmm.
aging. Have you always been pro aging? Or, if not, when was the shift?
Yes, absolutely not. And that comes back to ageism, really. That's baked into us. We start to learn about the negative aspects of getting older when we're as young as 3 and 4 years old. Like, you see it in fairy tales, you see it in games, you see it in books, you see it so we see it at a very, very early age. That's when it starts. So it's not a surprise that when we think about getting older, it's all about the negative parts of getting older, and there are negatives. I mean, I'm a realist. I'm not saying there's only great things about getting older, but it's not nuanced. Like, what we're seeing is only the the decline, the difficult parts. But I say there's, peaks and valleys at every age,
Mhm.
right? And you know about that at every age and every decade, but you don't really see it, right? It's not represented as we get older. So I felt the same way, trying desperately to look younger and want people
Mhm.
to think I was younger and all of that. And I think the shift started well, I think there were a couple of shifts. One, when I turned 50, that was
Mm.
probably the only sort of milestone birthday where I really, really thought hard about aging. And I thought, okay, well, here we go. This is it. Time for the decline. It's starting now. And truly felt that. I thought, okay, well, I'm never gonna feel the way I did before. I'm not gonna be able to do the physical things I did before. I'm not gonna feel like I look as good as I did before. Here we go.
Yeah.
And what I found out was it wasn't true. And I think that's what changed my perspective. And then when I was in my mid 50s, I just started to dive into sort of all things midlife,
Mm.
what was out there in terms of information and blogs and accounts and things. And I didn't really love what I was seeing, at least what I was finding at the time. Some of it was everything's great, and we know that's not true, and then the opposite was, like, everything was lousy, and that's not true either.
Right.
So then I just started to dive in, and I wanted to sort of find things that I could relate to, and there are, someone like, um, Ellen Langer, right, from Harvard, who's a researcher and writer, and she's been deemed the mother of mindfulness.
Mm.
What I've learned from her is that if your thinking is so important. So if you think all of these things about getting older, well, you're going to kind of manifest those things too. And so part of it was just kind of starting with the mindset and thinking about really what was happening to me as I got older. And I just found that all of those stereotypes were just not true for me. That's
Mm.
how it happened, really.
Well, what I find very interesting is that you mentioned 50 as being the first time that you really felt that way. I feel like in society, the age is sort of getting younger and
Younger and
younger
younger.
as people start to
Yeah.
think about what it means to age and
Yeah.
like the quote unquote decline. Because
Yeah.
I know at 40, women hear it, even at 35, or, if we talk about the anti aging movement or, aging gracefully, quote unquote. There's women who are in their 20s doing like all the preventative, like
Mhm.
Botox and fillers and, all of
I
these different
know.
things to not age.
Yeah.
And we just didn't really grow up with that. When I was in my 20s, I was thriving. I didn't even think about age, but I feel like women now are.
Well, I just saw it's funny, I just saw this compilation of a bunch of I think there were probably TikToks and Instagram,
Yeah.
posts, and it was, you know, "Oh, when you're 30 and you sneeze and you throw out your back," or, "Oh, when you're 30 and you get up from your chair and you hear all this creaking." And so it was all, like, at age 30, and I'm thinking, "Wow, like, that's really young." But I get it, I understand the humor, I understand why it's funny because other people are also experiencing, that moment where you pull something or something hurts or something aches, and then you blame it on your age.
Right.
It's kind of the default, let's blame it on the age, which is a problem because if you're blaming things solely on your age, then you can't really do anything about it
Mhm.
because you can't change your age.
Yeah.
So that's a shift. Like if you use age as a default in that way, um, that's gonna be difficult because you
Yeah.
can't change that. And that's why I come back to the mindset. It's
Right.
like, I feel like if you know, my recommendation is, like, just don't use age as a default. Now, does age matter? Yeah, it matters.
Yeah.
It could be true something is associated with your age, but to always use that as a default can be a problem.
You might be a certain age, but despite my age, I am still going to do these things. I'm still going to learn how to shuffle or, keep my body moving. Was shuffling sort of the first type of, I don't know if you want to call it foray or interest or activity that really got you started into like, I'm going to be strong as I age, or was there something else?
Kind of interesting because I know I talk about my age constantly, and the reason I do that is because I'm trying to change the stereotypes around an age, but it's kind of strange because when I was thinking of age 50 and all these things I was expecting to happen, uh, as I was sort of expecting those things to happen,
Mm.
I actually did the opposite of what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, if all these things are going to happen, then let's go. Let's just like do the thing. Let's not worry about that stuff. But I probably, like, from the physical standpoint, I would go back to age 40, which is when I started to do ballet,
Okay.
which I did for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And if you start ballet when you're 40, it's pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty hard. But I didn't feel like, oh, I'm 40, I can't do that. It was hard because if you know about ballet, it's all about turnout and it's coming from your hips. And you start that as a kid, you,
Yeah.
you kind of have more turnout. But when you're 40, you don't have any turnout. It makes all the movements challenging.
Uh-huh.
It's already challenging to begin with. But I did that for 10 years. And then I started boxing for fitness when I was 50.
Okay.
And again, I didn't really think, oh, I'm 50. Can I do this? My feeling was, oh, I'm 50. I've never done a push-up before, I've never done a burpee before, I've never carried a sandbag before, I've never hit a heavy bag before, I've never punched anything before. Like, I'm saying those are the things you
Yeah.
you think about, not the age piece of it.
Mhm.
It's what do I need to be able to do this activity? It was the same when I was 50, I went to that trapeze school
Mhm.
over at the pier.
Yeah.
And I thought, "Okay," I didn't think, "Oh, I'm 50, can I do this trapeze class?" Like, no, I was thinking, "Can I climb that really tall ladder because it looks hella scary?
Yeah.
Do I have the strength in my arms to hang on this swing on this bar? Am I flexible enough to pull my legs up and over this bar? And am I willing to let go of this bar? It didn't have to do with the age.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna need some video to insert into this podcast to show.
I actually have trapeze
Do you?
video.
I no, I love that because you are really just showing by example of you can really do anything. You could be 20, 30, 40, 50,
Yeah.
60, 70.
Well, I'm gonna say you could probably do some version of most things,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it may not be the version that you were able to do when I mean, I can't do the things I did, a lot of the things I did when I was 20, but I can do some of them,
Yeah.
but I'm not expecting to try to go back in time and, be the body I was when I was 25. That's not the point. That's just gonna create frustration.
So I feel like we are kind of talking about, yes, you can do anything at any age, but of course being mindful, right? Like you mentioned, you can't necessarily move and do all the things that you did when you were 20 as you get older. In a previous interview, I have seen you mention two different ages, that there's the biological age
Yeah.
and also something you call the no age. So could you kind of
Did I
describe?
say the no age? Okay,
You
well,
did.
I know I've said I think I said something like, "I'm me years old." I think
Mm.
that's what I said.
Me years
I'm
old.
me years
Okay.
old, yeah, and that to me just means that I'm not associating a lot of things to a particular age.
Mhm.
Yes, you can associate some things to a particular age, right? So, perimenopause and menopause is gonna happen usually within a certain window,
Right.
so some things are going to happen at a particular age, but I think I'm just not assigning things to an age. I
Yeah.
think that's what it is, and honestly, actually, I don't think anybody can do anything anyway, because I'm a realist, but what I do believe is that if you can commit to something at whatever age, you can get better at something
Yeah.
at most ages. That I believe. That I believe.
One thing that we're talking about here is kind of maybe more of the physical aspects with trapeze school, with boxing, with shuffling and all of that. But I think that as we age, and I know at least for me, my feelings around age are yes, around what's happening to me personally, but I also notice the people around me aging, meaning my parents and family. And I feel like that's honestly for me one of the hardest parts about aging is seeing your parents get older. Could you just share your experience around that?
Yeah. So when people say that, age is just a number, I would push back and say, well, no, not when your parents and loved ones are getting older. And, you know, that part is really hard. One, I know a lot of people are caregivers for their parents and loved ones. That's very, very difficult. And then also just seeing a person who you love, who was so robust and now is not and needing a lot of help. So, you know, we've we're always like working with this within our family now. My mom passed away years ago, and my mother-in-law did as well. But my husband and I, both of our dads are still here. His dad's over 90. My dad's almost 90, and so there are ways in that we help both of them. My dad doesn't. I don't live really close to my dad, so it's kind of intermittent when I'm helping him. But it's hard to witness, and, I was gonna mention a book that I just pre-ordered,
Please.
and it's called Joy Span, and it's written by a gerontologist, and so she talks about the way we talk about longevity. So, you you know, there's a lot of talk about health span right now, right? And, like, having the most number of years when you're in good health, but she's also talking about joy span, so having fulfillment in your life and things like that. But anyway, so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but the beginning of her book, she says people who say that age is just a number have not reached a high number.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, wow. Because when you see this a high number, like with our parents,
Yeah.
that's when it's very clear that age is not just a number, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's hard. It's just hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what else to say, and that's a piece that comes with, getting older, and that's probably one of the hardest.
Yeah. I was reading your blog, and I know you wrote a blog post about your mother passing and
Mhm.
sort of this trip, I believe that your sister and your mom
Yeah.
and you were going to take.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing?
We kept planning this, and so my mother was diagnosed with a very, very rare disease called Castleman disease, and, even doctors don't know that much about it. Uh, Years ago, really, there was very little information around it. It's very rare. I think maybe 5,000 people a year in the US would be diagnosed with this, and, so in the time she was diagnosed to the time she passed away, it was only a 6-month span. But my sister and I, and my mom kept wanting to do like kind of this girls trip, right? So we kept talking about it. We kept talking about places we would go. What are some options? I think we started with uh, someplace out of the country. And for me, I kept sort of pushing back. I was really, really busy. I didn't want to take that much time off. So I kept like pushing back. Oh, well, let's go someplace a little bit closer. And then it got a little bit closer and it got a little bit closer. And I was just trying to make this trip easier, I think, really probably for myself, just because of all the things that were on in my life at that time. And then at some point, it was not feasible. She would not be able to travel. And so that was just one of those things I feel like I kinda made this promise that I didn't fulfill. It's not that I couldn't, but I didn't, and that was like that's a big regret for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it's, obviously such a personal story. As you look back on that, you mentioned regret, but do you have, sort of a life lesson that maybe you learned during that time that you're moving forward with in your own life now?
Well, I mean, when my mom died, that really changed everything for me. It's interesting, I just had this conversation with someone yesterday. This book event I went to, it's for a book called Midlife Private Parts, and it's, a lot of essays from a lot of different women talking about different experiences in midlife, and I was having a conversation with a couple of women at this event yesterday, and we were all talking about when our moms passed, and for all 3 of us, it was sort of this, moment, sort of this trigger to I mean, there were a lot of changes, I think, that we had in common. One was just saying yes to more things,
Mm,
to not be as afraid of things.
yeah.
It just sort of, I don't know, opened up the horizon, opened up the landscape. It's like there was an openness there, I think, to stop holding back. And it's probably because, time becomes top of mind when something like this happens, something as dramatic and painful as this. And so I would say the 3 of us, when we were talking about this, it was really about just not waiting and not letting the fear hold you back, not letting other people's judgment hold you back, not letting a lot of these things hold you back. I think that was a big piece that changed for me when she passed. This was 2018,
Mhm.
because there's just a lot of so many questions, when that happens. It's yeah, it's pretty devastating. It's a big, "Okay, now what? Now what?" And for me, it was just looking at my whole life at that time, and that was, like, really when I decided to do something else. I had left my job that year,
Okay.
and, I thought, "Okay, what am I gonna do now?" And I started this blog, which took forever to do because I was just so nervous about it and fearful. I thought it was stupid. Who would want to read this? This is like, I don't know. I just felt like a lot of judgment was going to come my way. So, anyway, it still exists. It's a little bit dormant right now, but along the way, you also pick up all the social handles, which is what I did. And then I had the Instagram handle and I didn't post for a year. Again, same thing. This is dumb. What am I gonna put up? No one's gonna wanna see this. And, one day, and I just don't even know what triggered it, but one day I just thought, "Oh, well, hell, let's just put some stuff up." let's just see what happens.
I
But
love that. Yeah, because I think that's a very common feeling. I know I experience it as well of, you know, should I share this? Is this going to be dumb? Is someone from elementary school or, just someone from my past
yeah,
going to see this and think, judge me for it?
yeah,
But at a certain point, you're like, you know what? F it. Like, this is my life. I got to own my story and all of that. And it sounds like that's something that happened to you.
yeah.
Um,
So I don't know if this is true, but I heard that
yes.
Cher said,
Yes. Okay.
if it doesn't matter in 5 years, then don't let it matter, or something to that effect. Like in 5 years, is this not going to matter in 5 years? Then just go.
Yeah.
And so I actually think about that sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
like do a post or some message, and it's like, I don't know. And then I just think, well, I don't know, it's 5 years. Is this going to matter? No,
Yeah.
publish.
No, I love
Mm.
that. I don't even use 5 years. I think I internally tell myself, like, "Is this gonna matter next week? Will people
Right.
even remember?" And the answer is usually no.
No, no, no. There's too much stuff coming at everyone. No one's, not paying attention to you, really, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah, everyone else has the same internal monologues that they're dealing with. So you mentioned your career and how you quit your job, made a pivot, around the time after your mom had passed. What were you doing before, and did you just step into content creation? Was that the next move right after that?
Well, I was a creative director for a company called Dog-Eared. They're based in LA. It's a very cool jewelry and gift company. And when I started there, I was a assistant, a design assistant, just, you know, didn't know what I was doing, just sat in my corner at my desk, just doing whatever came my way. And just kept my ears open, just kind of listening to everything that was going on. And within a year, you know, the owner offered me a job to be the manager of the design team, which again didn't know what I was doing, and I took it.
Yeah.
And then from there, just moved up. So I was there for 10 years. And when I left, I have to say that, I do have a spouse, I have a husband.
Yeah.
And so, which enabled me to leave my job. I know it's a very privileged thing. Not everyone could do that, but I was able to do that. So I just want to mention, I understand that's not an option for everyone.
Totally, yeah, and I appreciate that you mentioned that, but even still, it's always scary to quit something or step into an unknown,
Yeah.
especially if you're not feeling fulfilled in some way.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know what was going to come from this. Like, I had no idea, but I just thought about the idea of a blog kind of made sense. I thought, "Oh, I'm learning all this stuff. Let me just write it down." And, I immediately, from fear and being a perfectionist and all that stuff, I immediately just bought all these courses,
Yeah.
right? Because I had to figure out, I had to know the right way to do everything, right? So I, like, spent all this money on courses. I don't think I finished a single one.
Yeah, I've been
Right.
there too, so it's not just you.
Yeah. So buy the courses, start doing this stuff like, I don't know, I don't think this applies to me. This is like for someone who's a little bit further on. It just didn't make sense. I think that's why I didn't finish any of them.
Mhm.
And so then I thought, okay, let's just get this blog off the ground. And so, Rachel, if you just search how to start a blog, you could start one in 2 hours.
Right.
Mine took 2 years
Yeah.
because I worked in design, so it's like I have a very particular eye and aesthetic. Like, I think I went through 3 different versions of what it would look like
Yeah.
design-wise, and, uh, and so that took a long time. Writing, I'm really slow at writing. I never wrote before, and I was very, like, insecure around, what I was actually saying in the writing, and if I said something or quoted something, like, it had to be right. I didn't want someone coming after me
Yeah.
and telling me, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get that information?" So, that took a really, really, really long time, and, but it's fine, like, I got it off the ground. I was happy that that happened, but the social piece of it was really unexpected. That was unexpected. I just thought, "I'm gonna take little snippets or quotes or something from the blog, I'll put it on Instagram," and I remember this very clearly.
Yeah.
This is how little I knew. again, it's like, okay, I was looking for courses for Instagram,
Yeah.
right? And then I remember stumbling on someone who was explaining how to make your feed look a certain way, right? Aesthetically
Yeah.
pleasing, or there was kind of this formula. So you would do a quote, and then you would do three things that were photographs, and then two things that there was like actually an
Right.
actual number for your grid to look a certain
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah.
like those were the things that were um like I felt were so important, to
Yeah.
make your grid look
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
see that.
Forget about the message or anything, just, like, make it look pretty.
Right, I mean, okay, it's funny now,
Yeah.
but back then, like, I was really
No,
putting a lot of effort into that, and then at some point, this was like, "Well, I can't, I just can't keep up with that." And and then what I started to do remixes
mm,
with other dancers. I started to do fitness stuff and physical things. It wasn't planned at all, wasn't planned at all, and then, like, a couple of them went viral, and that's just how, you know, the people told me, "Steer this way." So that's what I did.
that's how I found you,
Yeah.
is one of your viral videos, which they're so fun. But one thing that you had mentioned, so you started off as a design assistant to go back to your
Yeah.
career in
Yeah.
fashion and jewelry. What age were you at that time?
Oh, Rachel, okay. So if you think about a schedule and a timeline and a calendar and the years and your age and all that, and I hate to say I did things late, but I will say I did things later than most people. Or I don't even know if I could say most people, but
Yeah.
I did things later. So I went to a very good college. I went to Cal, go Bears. And when I got out of college, this was in the mid '80s, I didn't get a job, right? So they had the career recruitment center and everyone was traipsing around in their suits and sneakers and backpacks. And then you go to these interviews, in between classes. And just did all of that. And like, I didn't get a job. I didn't get a single job offer. So in my 20s, I was kind of rudderless. I didn't know what to do. If you wanted to look for a job back then, you would literally look in the newspaper,
Mhm.
a printed newspaper in the want ads,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't find sort of a regular full-time job. I just couldn't find one. And so I didn't know what to do when I was in my 20s. And so I did some different things. I um I actually did go to FIT
Okay.
in New York City for a little while. They had this program for people who had already graduated from college, so I went and did that. And, but by the time I had left for that program, I was already engaged to my husband. So, all I really wanted to do was come back, to California, and so that's what I did, and then I kinda did a lot of what he did. So, he was with an agency, and he was a model and actor. It's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do some of that." Yeah, so I just sort of fell into that. I did that for years. He had a business, I worked with his business. I didn't really do anything that I initiated. Just
Okay.
kind of, sort of went along, and I always knew it was not, um, like, satisfying. I always knew there was something missing because I wasn't, being intentional about making a choice to go and do what I really, really wanted to do, but I didn't know what I really, really wanted to do. But then, I was in my mid-30s, my daughter was born,
Okay.
and then after she got a little bit older and they're in school, more than half the day, it's like, "Okay, gotta figure out something, right?" So I did an unpaid internship when I was 42. I
Okay.
found it on Craigslist.
Yeah.
It was with a big casting director. I thought, "Oh, I love," I had taken years of acting class. I was a terrible actor, but I loved actors. I loved being around them. And I thought, "Oh, casting, like, yeah, I mean, casting director, that seems really, really interesting to me." So I went and I did this, and I opened up envelopes and took out submissions on VHS tapes and taped actors, and, so I did that, for a while, and then, I kinda stumbled on this design assistant job. I mean, this job was, like, such a low position. It was probably gonna be an I think originally it was gonna be like an unpaid internship or something. So for me at 42, no, by that time, I think I was 46
Okay.
when I started at that job. So to be 46 and walk in and get this job was, I think, a little bit unusual, and, just like $10 an hour, but I had no ego around it. I really didn't. I was excited to be working with all these really creative, interesting, fun, younger people
Yeah, yeah.
with me. And then it just took off from there. It just took off from there.
Well, I was gonna actually just make a comment of like, or question really of did you have ego around that? Because it can be hard sometimes
Yeah.
when you're in a younger environment. You have
Mhm.
a job technically, someone, quote unquote, but like
Yeah.
someone in their 20s might have.
Well, I'll tell you why I had no ego around it, because I didn't have a kind of a career job in my 20s
Yeah.
or in my 30s that I could look back and say, "Oh, well, I was at this position. I can't go down to that position." So it made it very easy to do an unpaid internship at age 42, start as a $10 an hour design assistant at age 46. It was easy for me to do those things. I had no ego around those. But I have to say, it's just because of my trajectory that I didn't have a lot going on before that.
Right.
Because I've heard from people, I'm in groups and forums, and I talk to a lot of women in midlife, and a lot of them have achieved quite a bit in their 20s and 30s. And now they're thinking, well, at 40, I can't do X, Y, and Z
Mhm.
because I, I, I'm not going to be good at it. I don't think I'm going to be good at it. If they had like a lot of success prior, I could see that being really hard to overcome, but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, no, I love that, because yes, there are a lot of women, especially, once you hit, I believe, like your late 30s, if you've kind of followed the quote unquote traditional path, you might be director or senior director or vice president of something,
Right.
but it sounds like it kind of worked to your benefit to go into something that was where you were green and you were just eager to
Totally.
learn.
Totally. Because I didn't hit any of these kind of higher positions until I was in my 50s.
Do you find that any of the work that you had done, whether it was at
Mhm.
Dog-Eared or even in your modeling and acting career, anything like that, that kind of has helped you in this phase of your career?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, which is kind of interesting because it all kind of comes full circle,
Right.
because I thought, "Oh god, all those years I wasted being a terrible actor," but now I'm comfortable in front of a camera, I'm comfortable sitting here talking to you, or being photographed and all those things, that I'm totally okay with that.
Mhm.
Uh, and then I think from the design perspective, I've always had, like, a certain aesthetic and things like that, and that really helped hone it. The owner of the company, my boss, has amazing taste, and so I just learned a lot from her. And I think from her also I learned, I was not, I don't know, this is not a really good term to use, like a woo-woo kind
Yeah.
of person, or, spiritual in that kind of sense. I don't know how to totally categorize it because it's, like, so widespread. But I think from her also, I just learned how to, like, let a lot of things go,
Mm.
right? And let some flow come to you and just be more open to different perspectives, and, so I have her to thank for that.
And even if, you graduate from a specific part of your career or life or what have you, there's always a learning or something that you can walk away from it that does actually help you in whatever you're stepping into.
Yeah, yeah. But it's kind of interesting though because, to be on social, there is everyone does it a different way, but I feel like the things I did before have, again, it's like all full circle. All these things help me now in terms of just, even just things like just editing and shooting and writing. And because when I was a creative director, I oversaw every creative department. So the designers, the graphic designers, we had photographers in house, we had a writer in house, we had, we did all the own shooting, our own shooting. I would oversee photo shoots, and so we'd create catalogs, and so it was, you know, a lot of editing. I did a lot of editing of the writing back then, because we were very message forward at the time.
Mhm.
So all of that has helped me now.
It seems like your 40s, while you were kind of starting to hit your stride and
Mhm.
figuring out what your voice is and your career path and all of that, 40s were maybe very busy for you in a lot of ways because there's that. I'm sure you were also raising your daughter, you had mentioned, and then also 40s, I feel like, is when perimenopause, menopause, all of that happens. So a lot of intersection of lots of different energies.
Yes, but I didn't know that at the time
Yeah.
because they think the information around menopause has become robust just in the last few years. So when I was going through perimenopause, I had no idea. I mean, I understood there were years prior to menopause that were called perimenopause, but I didn't know what that meant.
Mhm.
I didn't understand there were more than two symptoms. I didn't understand things that were happening to me that could have been associated with that. I'm looking in a rearview mirror now and thinking, oh, okay, well, remember this one time that I went out to do an errand and I went and I parked my car and I parallel parked in this spot. I thought, oh, I got this great parking spot. I got out of my car, went and did a bunch of stuff, and I came back and saw that I had parked in front of an apartment building driveway and it blocked their driveway.
Oh, no.
And I thought, how is that possible? The other cars had meters and I parked in front of this driveway. And I was just floored. I just didn't
Like, how did that?
understand how did that even happen? Or soon after, I was standing in my kitchen. I had this big Pyrex bowl. And I just dropped it,
Oh.
just shattered, thousands of pieces. I don't know why. I didn't bump into anything. It didn't slip. It just dropped. And so, I mean, looking back now, I think, were those brain fog moments? I guess. I don't know. I mean, there were all these things that were happening. This, I think, was at my peak stress in my 40s, just working a lot, my husband working, again, my daughter, all the school stuff, the pickups and the drop-offs, how we're gonna manage all of that. And then these things were happening, sleep, joint pain. And so now looking back, I'm thinking, okay, that's probably menopause, perimenopause related, but I didn't know. And I didn't know to do anything about it. I just thought this is just a busy time. This
Yeah.
is just what's happening. It's just what it is. I will just live in it, I guess.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case now, and I don't think that's gonna be the case for you.
Yeah, I don't think so because now at least I have heard of perimenopause. I know that menopause and all, this stage of life is going to be more than just the hot flashes that you
Yeah.
typically, stereotypically have heard of. But even the term perimenopause, I actually only recently heard about it because of social media and
Oh,
all of the
wow.
clips. Yeah, I just knew
Wow.
menopause was coming at some point.
Yeah.
And I've also learned that perimenopause can last years and years.
Yeah. I think maybe up to 10 years average?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether I'm looking forward to it or not, it's gonna happen to me at some point, but
It's gonna happen,
yeah.
and I I mean, if someone asks me about it, I'll just say, prepare yourself the best you can, get as much information as you can. It may rock your world. It may not, but it might. And if it does, it could be quite a ride. So it's different for everyone.
And what does that mean though to prepare for it? Obviously I'm hearing so much about strength training is really important. We
Yeah.
lose lean muscle mass, all of
Yeah.
that. But what do you wish you had known earlier?
I wish I had known about hormone therapy.
Okay.
Yeah. Just information, what it was, what it did. You've probably heard of the Women's Health Initiative, this study that was done over 20 years ago. The result of that study, um, I'm no health expert, so I'm going to be really careful what I say. But apparently, there was faulty data, that came out of that. Maybe not the data, but the results, uh, and that sort of turned hormone therapy usage on its head,
Mm.
for fear of breast cancer and other things like that. So now today there's different information coming out around that study. Um, I guess I'm going to use quotation mark corrections around that study. And so I think there are a lot of experts and doctors and MDs who are talking about it now and are trying to quell some of the fear around it. So I would say that's one thing to at least understand what it is.
Mhm.
And at some point when it's right for you, have a conversation with your doctor around it. I'm currently on hormone therapy,
Okay.
and I would say, and I'm on it because I do have osteopenia. So,
So do I.
oh, you do? Are you
Yeah, I
kidding me?
do. In one of my hips.
Well, oh wow,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And I just found out about it because I happened to do a DEXA scan.
You're young to get a DEXA. Oh, you had it. Okay, yeah, I know where you had it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think insurance covers it when you're 65.
Uh-huh.
When you're 65, like, I don't know, that's pretty late to do something about it.
Right.
I had mine pretty early because my mom had osteoporosis, and so that's how I was able to get it. But in the guidelines, hormone therapy can be prescribed to prevent osteoporosis. That's one of the things in the guidelines. And so it was not easy to get. And I was 60 when I started it, which is, if you think about how people are talking about this window, when to start it and when you shouldn't start it, I was like really right at the cusp of that window. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I just dived in and tried to find out as much as I could about it, and it's always, you know, a risk reward kinda ratio that you're looking at, and I felt like, you know, if there is some risk for me, it's worth taking, and, so a bonus
Yeah.
for me, just personally, my experience was that within a week, all the joint pain I had, the all over joint pain I had went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even, first of all, know that you would get joint pain during those, but
Yeah, I had yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Kinda like that joke about getting up and everything's creaky and stuff.
Right.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. So that was can be true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would be well, I had pain from a lot of different things. One was a herniated disc and
Mhm.
degeneration of my spine, so I have lower back pain all the time. But it did get to a point where it was, pretty like, it was interrupted my life.
Mm.
And that went on for years, and I kind of found a way to manage that, but I still had this sort of all over not feel goodness in
Yeah.
my body, and so I was still always physical and kinda did the activities I wanted to do. It didn't stop me, but I did have, like, a whole end of the night protocol just to try to, feel better and, whole stretching thing, and I had this huge ice pack I would lay on every night, and my sleep was interrupted and all that, and so the joint pain went away.
Yeah, that's great
Yeah,
to
but that enables me to do a lot more now.
right. So, if someone were pre-perimenopause, maybe it's good to kind of in the back of your mind know that something like that does exist for
Mhm.
help, but what's something else that people can do to be a bit more preventative or at least just support them as that time approaches?
I don't have credentials really to talk about health, but I mean, you think it's pretty known that strength training
Yeah.
is a plus, any way you look at it. Because you do start to lose muscle mass. I think in your 30s, you begin to lose it. So I would say strength training for me is a non negotiable. And I have to say, it's not my favorite thing to do,
Mm,
but I do it
yeah.
because I think you have, I mean, I think it's a must. I really do. So that's probably one. And just, take care of your body, be nice to your body. This is your one vehicle for life, and I just feel like the more you give her, the more she can give you back in terms of, she'll be when you're sick, you're gonna recover easier. If you hurt yourself, hopefully you can recover a little bit easier. Like, I feel like you wanna give her as much strength as possible to get through all the tough parts of life because things are gonna be tough, things are gonna be challenging, things are gonna be uncomfortable, some things are gonna hurt. Give yourself your best chance. Be as strong as you can.
I love this because I am starting to strength train now for other reasons. I'm going through a fertility journey and all that. So I'm just trying to get healthier and stronger now,
Yeah.
which I know will also just help as I age. But one thing that I've learned is I used to be really into fitness. And then during the pandemic and the years after that, I just kind of lost my flow with it and I became pretty sedentary, to be honest. And getting back into it is just that much harder. So I feel like even just if you are somewhat active now, just don't stop, just keep going and
Well, that's the best advice is just don't ever stop, but
yeah.
it's just not realistic. We have a lot of people, we're all gonna go through phases when things are just too hard, too
Mhm.
busy. You're taking care of all these other people and things that are not you. You're gonna prioritize whoever, if you have children, your dogs, your pets, your parents, your home, your work, there's just it's like too much and you kind of get lost. Women especially kind of get lost in that list, you get pushed down to the bottom. And sometimes there is a period when that's just what it is, where you just have to get through this hard period. Hopefully, you can come back and push yourself up that list. And at some point, you must take care of yourself. You really do. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. I get it. I mean, I've seen it, and I'm just gonna say, like, there's a lot of advice out there of what to do, and I think sometimes, and I see it in comments and things, it makes a lot of people, I'm gonna talk more specifically just about women, it makes them feel bad because they can't do X, Y, and Z, right?
Mhm.
And so I think the point is, you don't have to do it that way, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times the information out there is this is how you optimize it. This is optimal. This is like top notch. This is the best. This is like when you're at the top of the ladder, and like not everyone can do it at that point, or even working up to that. You're talking about it could take years, right, to get up to be able to do it that optimal way. And so I just think just get feel easy
Yeah.
easy on yourself. That's why I say, like, just I know it's so simplistic, but just don't be mean to your body. Like, don't be mean to yourself. Just do it in the way that works for you. Like, my favorite quote is from tennis great Arthur Ashe, and, it's, "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can."
I love
And what I love about that quote is, it's just telling you, go and do something. Um, and if you use what you have, then you're not, don't worry about, oh, needing to have the equipment and having to go to the gym, this gym, and having to take this kind of class. It's like, no, no, no. Use what you have in the moment. And your environment may not be conducive
Mhm.
to doing a particular kind of exercise or something. You may not live close to a gym. You may not live in an area that's great for walking, so figure it out, like what you can use, and then do what you can. And so, what I like about that is it takes out any comparison,
Right.
right? So then it's not, oh, well, I need to do it like that person to do it right. It's like, okay, strength training, yes. Like to me, you got to find a way to do some of that.
Mhm.
Um, and then the rest, like meet yourself where you are.
Yeah. Oh, I love that saying. I use it often,
Yeah.
meeting yourself where you are.
Yeah. I just think it's realistic. That's
Yeah.
all. I mean, life is busy and it's hard. And honestly, the optimum, right, or the way to do all the healthy things and all the wellness stuff and do it all, our our environment, it's like you have to fight to do all those things because we're
Mhm.
sort of built for comfort.
Right?
Everything's for comfort,
Yes.
right? And so if you want to do those things, you have to be really intentional and mindful and you have to fight. And sometimes you really have to fight for it.
Yeah. What are some other things outside of strength training, keeping yourself active that you personally do that's meeting yourself where you're at as far as being healthy, aging healthy? Anything else in your morning or nighttime routines that you do?
Well, I think, and I know I don't know the name of it. There's this longevity study and the things that made people fulfilled in life. Most of all, it wasn't the exercise and it wasn't what they were eating, it was relationships.
Yeah.
So I would say you probably want to, and again, that is something you have to work at. So I'm intentional about meeting people, even if, I'm not, like, totally up for it, or it's, like, a really long drive, or it's inconvenient, but I will go and do that. I meet my, gal pals for lunch or coffee or whatever. When I visit my dad, I'll go see friends up there, and so just seeing people and staying connected, I live in person these days, and I know sometimes it's really hard to get schedules in sync, but I would say that is probably a big, big priority.
Yeah, I even this podcast, I could have very well been like, "Oh, let's do virtual," but whenever possible, I'm like, "No, let's meet up in person."
Yeah, yeah, what a difference.
It really
It's a
does.
massive difference.
It does make such a difference. Okay, so this is a new thing
Uh-oh.
that I have never done. You're my guinea pig right now.
Okay.
So I have this like little prototype of
Oh my goodness.
cards,
Okay.
and on each card there's a different question or prompt.
Okay.
I don't know where things are in here, so you could pick something. What's your favorite food, or you could pick.
All right.
Tell me your childhood trauma.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Do I read it?
Do you want to read it, or do you want me to read it? You can read it.
What's a simple pleasure that never lets you down? Coffee.
Love it. What's your go-to?
My go-to, I don't drink okay, so I think one of the best inventions ever is an espresso machine.
Great.
I have an espresso with nut pod creamer that I put in this frother every morning, and I just it's like that's the beginning of my day. I just love it.
It's a great little ritual.
I love the whole ritual around coffee. I like making that cup. I like the aroma, that first sip, my favorite mug, like the whole thing.
I love that. Okay, I have a couple more questions and then we can wrap.
Okay.
But what are you celebrating these days?
Oh, that's gonna sound hokey.
Oh.
I used to not have I used to not feel super grateful for my life, and I think some of that comes from, I don't know, insecurity and, kind of fear of the future and things like that. So, I just have a lot of gratefulness just for where we are just right now.
Yeah.
And that would be, like, with my family, especially spending time with my family, just doing simple things, like, we like to, you know, get takeout and stream
The
all day long. Yeah.
the best.
Yeah, like, to me, I mean, it's not that that's something I necessarily celebrate, but just, like, really simple things. I just celebrate waking up and being okay and everyone in my life's okay and, you know, the world's imploding, but we're getting through the day and, I think that's enough.
I think
I
that's
can't think of, like, a sort of a big thing.
I think
Yeah.
that's actually the most perfect answer because it's the little day to day.
If I get up and I get up on my 2 feet and I can go up and down the stairs
Yeah.
and my family's there and my resident cats and go down and make my yummy coffee, like, I celebrate that.
Yeah, no, it sounds perfect. It sounds perfect. Okay, how can the listener or viewer support you in some way?
Oh, I don't know if anyone's asked me that before. I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything to sell or yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a like, a follow?
A like, a follow. I mean, any kind of like, what would be awesome is like um comments in DMs, messages, because I like to know what people are thinking. I like to know what they have to say.
Yeah.
I like to know what they're looking for. I like to know what moves them. I like to know just what's on their minds. And I've had like some really fun conversations with people across the globe. I have this one example. There was a woman who lives thousands of miles from me, and we started messaging probably almost a year ago. And she's in her 60s. And she said, I never exercised, never gone to a gym, never done any classes, never did any of these things, but I want to start and I don't know how to start. So, we were messaging, blah, 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 going back and forth. And then she sends me this message. She goes, I found a trainer. I'm going to the gym and taking Pilates. I'm doing functional training. I'm in my, I don't know what it was back then, my 6th week or my 8th week. And then I got a message from her not too long ago that she's still at it. She's getting stronger. She's, really happy, with the way she feels. And that was like just really amazing to me.
I love that you were a part of her health
I
journey.
know, I know, I know, I know. And like
Yeah.
blows me away. I think there are people out there who were like ready. They're just right on the cusp, but they just need a little nudge.
Mhm.
They just need that little push. They just need to kind of see it and think, oh, okay, I'm XYZ age. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think I can do this now. I think I can do this now. And so those are the people I think who are like most responsive to what I do. And listen, sometimes I get stuff. I mean, I actually get a lot of things from people. It's like, well, I can't do that because of this, and this. Like, well, I'm not a how-to sort of page.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how to fix a health issue that's too complicated. It's like the body is just too complicated of a system for somebody to get information from a post.
Right.
Go see your healthcare provider. Go and do your research and try to figure out how to get better. But that person who's like right on the cusp, um, those are my people.
Yeah. You're their cheerleader.
Those are my people. Yeah, and I've heard from a lot of them, and it's really amazing. It's really amazing. That's why like I put stuff out there.
I love that, and it really does go back to the point you were making earlier of, what's most important as you age, it's cultivating relationships,
Yeah.
having connection with people, and it sounds like you're
Yeah.
definitely getting that from your community.
Well, I think what people, I mean, a lot of people, and again, we want convenience and we want answers. Like I'm in this midlife bubble and I'm looking at all kinds of accounts and things. I'm looking at comments and people just they want answers. They just want answers. They want to know what is it that I need to do to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. And I just don't think there is that one answer out there. And I know I hear it all the time. I'm a podcast junkie. I listen to a lot of them. And the typical question is like, well, what is that one thing?
Mm,
What's that one life-changing thing? What's the one thing the person can do to jumpstart this, and this? And it's like, I don't know how helpful that is because we kind of know the things to do,
right.
right? And so just giving advice, I don't know how many people will actually turn that into action. And so kind of I was like thinking about this. Do you do crossword puzzles?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I see a crossword puzzle, it's very intimidating because I don't think I can finish. It just looks too hard,
Right.
right?
That's probably why I don't do them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So I do the New York Times Mini. It's this really short, easier puzzle. But I was just thinking about crossword book. You just go with me.
I'm
It's like
there.
a tangent.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about this crossword puzzle and how it kind of relates to figuring out how to age in a way that's feels good and is fulfilling and things like that. It's like, okay, there isn't just an answer for that, but you have to find out. You have to find out what works for you, and you have to be seeking it, really. You have to be intentional. It's work. It's work. And so if I'm looking at a crossword puzzle as an example, it's like, okay, I know this many answers off the bat. I'm going to fill all those in, right? And so now I've got the first letter for this clue.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to figure that out too. And it's like as you keep going and you keep investigating and you keep researching and you keep reading and listening and wondering and looking for things out there, you start to fill in all these little answers. And a part of one answer gives you the beginning of another answer, and that links to another answer, and that links to another answer. And so for I feel like that's my journey. It's like filling in all of these answers little by little, one by one. Each one's connected to the other,
Mhm.
and each one helps me get to the next one.
Yeah.
That I think has been the way I've been going along this learning journey because that's what it is. I don't feel like it's the one answer. Because honestly, if it was really just about getting some advice and doing it, we'd all do it. And that's not happening.
Yeah, it's so nuanced. Of course, everyone knows to eat your vegetables, work out, do all these really basic things, but not everyone does it. And there's a reason why. And that reason is different for everybody.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay, Mimi, where can everyone find you on social? What's the most supportive for you? Is it Instagram?
It's going to be Instagram, Hey Middle Age. I'm also on Facebook, Hey Middle Age. It's essentially pretty much the same content, um, but there'll probably be more on Instagram. I have a Threads account. Once in a while, I'll hop onto Threads. And then I do have a blog, Hey Middle Age. It's dormant right now, but I'm going to get back to writing.
I love
I've
it.
considered Substack too. I don't know. I'll have to see. Um, Great. You see, like everyone else, have to make a decision. I have to take some action. I have to do something. I have
Yeah.
to just go.
Yeah. The learning journey and the growth journey is just, it's never ending.
Never ending. It's not supposed to end. There's no finish line.
That's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and for being my first in person.